But speaking of Brady, I want to talk to you guys about the impact that this could have on Brady. I don't know if you heard, but he is 40 years old.
Really?
Not sure if you know that, but
I thought he was 25.
40
honestly.
years old, believe it or not. But Brady being 40 years old, obviously, you know, him taking impact. I mean, honestly, I think he's more durable, it seems like, at this point than...
Pliable.
He's pliable.
Yes,
Yep.
malleable, that workout regimen. But really, I have been thinking about his release time has been very, very quick. And a lot of that has had to do with Edelman, is that he knows he can chuck it to Edelman, even in traffic, and Edelman will find a way to catch the ball. If his time in the pocket is now getting maybe a little bit longer, if he's having to wait for guys or maybe doesn't trust his other receivers as much as he did Edelman, what kind of effect could this have on him in his season?
Well, I think the good news for him is you still have Gronk, and I think that's the one other guy besides Edelman who is Brady will just throw it to him.
Yep.
You know, he'll just throw it to him if he's in double coverage. He trusts him to know where he is. Maybe Edelman even more though than Gronk, just because he's a lot shorter passes, kind of check downs in the middle. But I think that's a good point. He's going to have to develop a level of trust with a lot of guys who haven't been here very long. Obviously, Brandon Cooks and Rex Burkhead, their first years here. Malcolm Mitchell's second year. Like you said, I think he's going to be important to watch.
Yeah.
If they can kind of develop that trust. But I think Brady's one of the best in the league at avoiding contact and getting the ball at as quickly as possible. So it's just be another test for him.
Yeah.
What's your, Zach, confidence in this offensive line to be able to protect him for longer if that does end up being the case?
Very confident as long as it stays healthy. Those starting five that basically were in place for all of last season, they're all back this year, and I think if they're all on the field and healthy, I would be very confident in that offensive line. Obviously, with Brady being as old as he is, he's not the most mobile quarterback, even though he does take very good care of his body and all that stuff. He's still not going to take a second off of his 40 time or anything like that. So they did a fantastic job of protecting him last season. I think they can do the same. But if you do lose one of those tackles, I mean, Nate Solder's been a little banged up this summer. If you have to plug Cameron Fleming or Adrian Waddle in there, we've seen both of them look very shaky so far this preseason. So
that's an area where I feel like is so underrated when people have just the discussions about who can you not lose and affect the outcome of the Patriots season. It's often, before it was always the argument of, would you rather lose Edelman or Gronk? I'm trying to think I think it's really important not to lose an offensive lineman, which I don't know, ordinarily maybe would sound crazy, but I think that keeping Brady as healthy as possible and as
especially one of the tackles. I mean, especially Nate Solder and Marcus Cannon are both hugely important. Nate Solder more so just because he plays on the left side. If they have an injury to one of the interior guys, Ted Karras is a pretty solid backup. I think he could fill in there, maybe not be quite as effective as those three starters, but I think he can kind of hold the fort down. But right now it looks like the drop between the starting tackle and third tackle, swing tackle, whoever between Fleming or Waddle ends up earning that spot, it's pretty significant. I mean, either of those players I think are fine to have as a third tackle, jumbo tight end kind of guy who will come in maybe goal line situations or whatever. But if you're relying on him to be your primary protector of Brady's blind side against some of the talented, I mean, if they play the Texans in week 3.
Yeah.
If you're having Adrian Waddle against J.J. Watt, I don't think that's the matchup that
not
you
an
want.
ideal situation.
Yeah. So health up front is, I mean, they were unusually healthy on the offensive line last season. So keeping that,
they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And you saw 2 years ago they were unusually unhealthy, and Brady almost got killed in the AFC Championship game. So keeping that starting five intact is going to be very, very important, I think.